Welcome to another air gun adventures with Dr. Russ. It's Christmas, and I've got my Christmas shirt on. So let me begin by saying that Dr. Paula and I wish you and yours a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. She's got one of these too, but we'll get her into one. We have 9 puppies right now, and I'm gonna have her on that video. Well, you can see this box of ammo here, and this is all of my 17 and 22 caliber divided up. I have more in 10s, but as you can see, they all go in here, and there's a reason. And the reason is you want to try to shoot BBs, pellets, whatever, down slugs, down a barrel until you find one that really seals. One in which the that skirt back here flares out a hair and really seals that barrel up. Now there's all kinds of barrels. There's smoothbore, and then there's rifled barrels, and these are rifled. We're going to be comparing today a review with this Crosman 1322 and this Umarex strike point. They're both in 22 caliber. They both are multi-pump, and I think the best news about a multi-pump is that you don't have to buy any CO2 cartridges for it. I'll be practicing with just 5 pumps, which is the recommendation. 10 pumps if you're going to go out hunting. We're going to see what kind of groups they have, because, well, you know I like a 20-inch barrel, and I don't think that looks like a 20-inch barrel, does it? As a matter of fact, both of these are just about 10-inch barrels, a long way from being 20. But this gun isn't for hunting. This isn't a gun for competitive shooting. Might be a gun for defense, might be a gun to plink, and might be a gun to shoot some destructive critters that are running around. Let's find out how well they shoot right now. I want to get right into this shooting portion. Keep in mind that when barrels are rifled, they need to be broken in. When they're smoothbore, they actually don't. They need to be clean, but not broken in. Well, let's see what kind of group this Crosman shoots. On both the Umarex and the Crosman, they work identical in that you have a bolt, and you open it up, and you can insert the pellet and then push it back. If you don't do that first, you can pump all you like, and it's not going to do any good. It just flip-flops. It has to be loaded first, cocked first back here, and then she'll really pump. You're going to notice a Picatinny rail on this. This did not come with a Picatinny rail. I've decided, and I moved a little bit early on this, but eBay is full of all types of upgrades, and I'm going to see just what kind of a group these shoot before you do the upgrades, and then see how they shoot afterward. Last time I shot at the target at the top of the board. Now I'm going to shoot right below it with this Umarex. Okay, well, you know that today's airgun adventure is about these 2 handguns, the Crosman 1322 in a 22 caliber, and the Umarex Power Strike. I should say strike point. And you saw how they shot. I wasn't impressed at all with the grouping that I got, but take a look at this. This is the top target right here. And you can see that these three shots right here are quite a bit apart. But it turns out it's just about the same distance for the strike point. In other words, initially here, they don't appear to be very accurate at 30 feet, 10 yards. But I've got some plans for these guns, and I'll get to that in a moment. Let's turn to humor for a moment, because some of you have said they really enjoyed a little bit of humor each day. So here are 3 pieces of humor that some good friends sent me. One said, "Due to my isolation, I finished 3 books today. And believe me, that's a lot of coloring." And another one said, "I just sold my homing pigeon on eBay for the 22nd time." If you know anything about homing pigeons, you'll know that that's humorous. And the last piece of humor for today is that I grew up with Bob Hope, with Steve Jobs, and with Johnny Cash. Now there's no Jobs, no Cash, and no Hope. Please, please don't let anything happen to Kevin Bacon. Okay, what do I have planned for these guns? Well, certainly hitting a 6-inch target here at 10 yards is often accurate enough for a number of people. But keep in mind that these air guns haven't had 200 rounds thrown through them, and they haven't really had that rifled barrel leaded in. That's still to come. So I've known all along that I'm going to be doing some upgrades. And let me tell you what I have planned, and then I'm going to do another video, and you'll see how they shoot once they've been upgraded. But I think one of the things is these rifle barrels. If you can imagine what it takes to rifle a barrel, they drill a hole through, and then they ram a device through that cuts in to those sides and puts that rifling in. It's not an easy job, and it's not a simple job. First of all, the barrels are made of different kinds of steel, and then the tools that are used are different. And sometimes they leave a little edge or two right here on what's called the crown. And so it's good to get a little Dremel tool and get in here and take those edges off. You'll find these little cone-shaped drills at Harbor Freight and some tool companies and some hardware stores. But that crown needs to be clean. The barrels needed to be leaded in. One of the things is FX, which seems to have some of the best barrels out there, has what's really called a smooth bore. It's rifled, but it's smooth. I mean, it's like a mirror when you look down them. And this is not a barrel that goes into a pistol. It's actually a barrel that goes into one of Zach Matthews' air guns. This is the 22. But you would want to take the barrel off if it's at all possible. It's possible with all guns, but if it's easy. And you're going to want to run some compound and really shine it up. Now this is after you shoot through it and you get it leaded in. But then you want compound. And I'm guessing that that's what FX does, and maybe some of the other high-end air guns. But once you have polished it, oh my goodness, that pellet, that whatever slug can go down and do an excellent job. But don't do it while the barrel is still in the gun, because these are pneumatics. And pneumatics mean that they operate on air. And you can get some of this junk, which is really a polish with fine particles of sand in it, down into this pneumatic parts. The hammer, the spring, those openings, you don't want to do that. So that barrel has to come out. You have to do the barrel, clean it well, and put it back in. If you want a barrel that's as smooth as some of these barrels that go into the competition. So consider that. Now then, another thing, as you saw on this strike point, I've got a Picatinny rail on it. That didn't come with it. I got started on that gun, and I shouldn't have, but let me show you something. If you see this Picatinny rail here, notice how it's got a curved edge, and that happens to fit right onto the curved barrel. I was lucky. So what I've done here, because there's no screw holes, is that I've actually, maybe you see a little bit of the glue right in there, and you can see this rounded piece here, but putting it right on, and I had to use some bubble levelers to make sure that it was perfectly on, so that I could mount a Picatinny rail and then scopes. I'll show you the scope in a minute. Actually, red dot. Now here is just a couple more to show you. This one here is metal. I've got some in every length and every material possible because I believe in Picatinny rails and the scopes and sights that go on them. But this is the one that you want to know particularly, because while these guns didn't have a 10mm groove for mounting a scope, and most of the good stuff is 20mm, you needed this conversion. This piece fits onto the Picatinny rail, and then this 20mm fits onto it. These you can get from CV Life, and they're about 10, 11 bucks. You get a 15% discount with CV Life. So it makes it very, very manageable. This is all metal and works very, very well. You would do this, a lot of 22 caliber rifles come with a 10mm rail. A lot of air guns, 22 caliber and lower, come with a 10mm. And if you want some of these better scopes, you'll want to get it up to the 20mm range. I've ordered a number of pieces off of eBay to upgrade these. Now that Crosman, that's been around since the 70s. I remember buying one for about 40 bucks. They're $65 now. And this Umarex strike point, it's around $50 now. But it's only been around 6, 7 years, I think. But that Crosman's been around a long time. And so the accessories available for it go beyond anything you've seen. I could have spent 10 times the cost of the air pistol if I bought all those accessories, and I didn't. But I did buy one that extends it into your shoulder and allows you to use it as kind of a carbine. Now let me say something about it. I've got it coming, I'm going to put it on. It didn't lengthen the barrel any, but it does make it a great backpack air pistol if you're going to go on an adventure, climbing through the mountains, etc., etc. But if you want the accuracy of a rifle, you're going to have to buy a rifle. Now here is a beautiful, absolutely beautiful red dot with a laser attached. Now this thing is available from CV Life for about I don't know, 40, 50 bucks. But notice here how it can fit right onto this Picatinny rail. And once I do the mods on this, I think it'll be a lot accurate than what we were just showing you. I'm also playing with this short scope here, also from CV Life. I see the power here is 6 by 24. It might be the right thing after I put that added stock on. We'll see. But my goodness, this thing has a place for a battery, one of those nickel-shaped batteries, and it'll allow you to light up those crosshairs. And this scope is called the Eagle Feather with CV Life. I think it's $142. If that's out of your price range, they've got great scopes clear down to about 30, 40 bucks. And they're all new, and they are built well. You can turn up the intensity of the crosshairs. You can make adjustments to the crosshairs. It does quite a bit. And it comes with this riser Picatinny mount. So I've got that ready to go on to a pistol. Let me say one word about safety. You may want to put one of these trigger locks on to keep these guns safe. Okay, let's get over to those specifications. Now, both of these air pistols are what we call multi-pump. And multi-pump means that you're able to pump them up to 10 times, either one. They recommend about 5 times for target practice. And they shoot pretty good at 5 pumps. That's what I was using outside today. You can go up to 10 points, and both get up to about 500 feet per second. They recommend that you don't go over 10. I went 12. And at 12, with my velocity meter, I found out that both of these guns get up to about 600 feet per second. And that can do a lot of damage to a destructive critter. Let's talk about the number of times you pump it and what velocity that you're going to get pretty much out of both guns. I was using my FX velocity meter, and with one pump, which they don't really recommend, you get about 150 feet per second. Now let me say something too. Nowhere in the manual will you find this, but I like to take a multi-pump pistol or rifle, and I like to pump it one time before I store it away. That kind of just puts the pressure in a number of places, just enough that helps them actually. And so I'll pump them once before I put them away. But when you pump them twice, you go from 100 to 250. They really recommend to start at 3 pumps, and that's 300 feet a second. 4 pumps just gets an extra 50 feet a second out. That'd be 350 with 4 pumps. At 5 pumps, you're going to hit 420. At 6 pumps, you're going to hit 440. 7 pumps, about 460. I'm trying to remember these numbers. 8 pumps, around 480. 5 pumps, about 485. And finally, that 10th pump, and you hit 500. But if you go to that 11th pump and that 12th, you'll hit 600. At least that's what my meter showed. And that's pretty good velocity, which is why I think maybe improving these guns can help. They both have barrels that are about 10 inches long. And both guns are about 14 inches long. The Umarex is a German company. I do like German barrels. But I have to tell you that Crosman makes some excellent barrels. Crosman has been kind of late to the table with regulators. And I think one of the reasons is their barrels are so good. And if you pay an extra $50 to $100 on guns, not on this one, but on some of their others, you can get a Walther barrel in them. In 22 caliber, not in 25. So I like that. Let me turn from reasonably good news to just some horrible news, and that's triggers. These both have horrible triggers in my mind. They have a horrible pull. And the Umarex has more than a horrible pull. It doesn't have a lot of space here. So if you have a gloved hand, you're going to have a lot of trouble compared to this one. So I'm ordering here. I don't have them out, but I've got some real nice triggers. They go from about well, from the 7-8 pound horrible pulls to 3, and 3 is nice. They also have triggers that go into a trigger shoe. That means a wide trigger. So instead of hitting this narrow plastic, I can get a wide metal. But with the triggers that came with these guns, they're horrible. Well, if you're inclined to get some accessories in the mail, one of the areas you might look at is sights, because these are plastic, and while they're supposed to be adjustable, they weren't very adjustable for me. So if you're a fixed sight type of person and you like that fixed sight, you may want to order some of them that are available. Also, when you shoot, let's just remember, we've got a triangle that we're concerned with. This chest, this arm with the elbow locked, and this hand not so locked. And it comes in usually up here. And it's just got a little bit of tension, so that as I'm aiming here, this tension from my left hand pulls it right onto target as a general rule. You won't shoot this gun with a pencil, but imagine for a moment a pencil going straight in and we just pull the trigger straight back like that. That's what you want to accomplish, but without the pencil. And that takes some new training with this trigger finger, because if you do what's normal, you'll pull the trigger of the gun one way or the other, and you don't want to do that. Let me talk about horrible again. Notice on this Umarex strike point, this hooded shroud over the front sight. Now, one thing I really, really like is I like that laser type sight that's in it. It's not called laser, it's called something else, but it's a clear red plastic. And with a little Dremel tool, I plan to take off this hood on mine. You don't have to on yours. Why? Because it seems to just, that hood seems to hide what's out there. Another thing that you'll want, again, there's better sights that can really help you know what's going on. I put this magnifying glass out here because don't hesitate to look at that crown with a magnifying glass, and when you really blow it up, you might not be real pleased with this fast barrel manufacturing method that often ignores the crown and requires you to do something. Now, some people just take some compound and do that with their finger. That'll work too. But you definitely want to look at the crown, the barrel, and the sights, if at all possible. Because the Crosman's been out for so long, hundreds of accessories are available. Just a dozen or so that I found for the PowerPoint. A lot of you like to shoot air pistols because it's kind of like training for powder pistols. And some people like this because it kind of looks like the Desert Eagle. While this one doesn't look like anything out there. But I hope that all of these things will help you be a better air gun that is sharp and safe and silent. As we wind this video down, let me show this to you. This used to be called the 72 Deal Breakers, and it was a nice list of things that helped me understand what my next air gun would be. Well, we've got it up over 100 deal breakers now, and we don't number it because I think within a year it'll be higher than 100. But we start with CO2 pistols. We cover the size of the air tube that goes in them. We talk about every brand. We talk about springers and brake barrels and PCPs, CO2s. So I think that this can be of huge help to you. Now, in addition to specifications, I'm asked all the time, where do I get my scopes? Where do I get my air guns? And I get a lot of air guns that have been restored at about half the price, which is how I'm able to own, I think, about 80 different air guns right now. I've listed them down here. None of them pay me money or anything like that, but I have found some really good bargains down here with the choice of, like Hatson USA, they let you buy a refurbished or a new one. And so I've got that down here. CV Life allows, they're the one source that allows us to buy just about any accessory you want, plus or minus a 15% discount. But if you look down here, we thought, how can we mail this to everybody who wants one? You know, stamps are more than 60 cents now in the States. And then you got an envelope, you got the paper and the time to put it together and fold it. Anyway, it came, I was suggested to sell these at $3, but two things. We're selling them at $2.75 if you're interested in one. And if you order any of our air rifle hats or t-shirts, it's free. So maybe that'll be of help to you as well. We trust that you're well. If you liked the video, give us a thumbs up. If you have questions, leave a comment. I try to answer them all within a week or two. And become a viewer. Next week, I've got a couple more pistols. Now these are pistols. A pistol is square, and I think one has a blowback design and one doesn't. I think in the third week I've got revolvers. 357 Colt. There's some nice revolvers. Of course, let's just remember it's Christmas. And while Dr. Paul and I have 6 kids and 15 grandkids, and Santa Claus is pretty big in our lives, let's keep in mind that Christmas is all about the Christ child and his birth. And the best gift you and I could ever receive is the Son of God, forgiving us not of last week's sin, all of our sins. And if you do that, you're going to be a better air gunner. I am. I hope you are too.